Well, any of us are not free, none of us are free. If we simply live our lives here and go, I'm free, I'm fine, I've got my life, I've got my clubs, I've got my corner of the world where I can be me. Yeah, I've got to be careful about holding my boyfriend's hand in the street if I'm in a rough area. I might get name called, maybe even beaten up. But, you know, I've got my gay clubs, I've got my discos, I've got my drugs, I've got my back rooms, I've got my saunas, I've got my partner. It's a private matter, nobody needs to know I'm gay. I've heard this too many times. Off. You know, we are not free to be ourselves as fully as heterosexuals without fear. So yes, we've come an enormous way. Yes, I couldn't have dreamt, or I did dream, I couldn't have imagined that we would actually get here to this point. But this is only a starting point. It's a lot further along the line. We've gained so much. But don't settle for this. This is a corner of the world that we're being allowed to have. This is a time to pick up the torch and move forward for real liberation.
Pride, a word defined in the dictionary as a satisfaction derived from one's own achievements. But in recent years, the word has gathered much more attention in a different context, one that showcases the newly found confidence displayed by members of a typically marginalised group, celebrating their right to share culture, identity and experience in some pretty interesting ways. Now, the bloke you saw before is Geoff Hardy, member and avid supporter of LGBT Shrewsbury, and for many in the town, he's been a huge contributing factor to the evolution of this movement. But things haven't always been this way. LGBT history can be seen as far back as the 1st century, where the United Kingdom criminalised adultery among heterosexual and bisexual orientated men. But, you know, there was still a long road ahead. The first official gay pride wasn't until 1972. Recently, though, more advancements have been made. In 2000, the UK government lifted its ban on lesbian, gay and bisexual people serving in the armed forces. In 2003, Section 28 is dropped, allowing schools to teach the acceptability of homosexuality. In 2010, gender reassignment becomes a protected characteristic. And in 2013, same-sex couples are finally allowed to marry. But this hasn't come without setbacks. In 2016, 49 people were shot dead in an LGBT nightclub. Alas, time's moved on, and now that we're into the 2020s, I wanted to have a look at the wider issues that affect us today. For that, I had to go speak with Peter Tatchell, prominent human rights activist, and Pliny Soocoormanee, executive assistant to the Peter Tatchell Foundation, who helps deal with LGBT asylum seekers. Hello, it's Thomas Farrell here. I did, yes.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry about this.
That's all right. Hi. Good to see you. I deal approximately with 200 cases or so a year. Out of that, I think we've got 150 around like that LGBT asylum seekers, if not 100.
Can it be quite upsetting then, personally, to read through people's experiences?
Yes, it can be. It's always a very upsetting thing. Yeah. And we had Espoir, who's from Cameroon. She's quite happy to talk about her story, although she's always in tears when she tells about her story. I mean, it's terribly upsetting. She escaped Cameroon. Her girlfriend was attacked. They kissed somewhere, and somebody saw them, and a mob gathered. The people got her, beat her up, took her to the police station. There, the policeman rape her in the station there to correct her. Her dad managed to bribe the police and she got out. She was forced into marriage with a guy, again trying to correct her. Not the ideal, still bad. Then she found a woman who was in the same situation as her. So they decided at that time, trying to escape. They managed to escape, but on the eve, the family of the other woman managed to find them. They beat her partner, and she was too afraid to go to the hotel, so she left. It's only afterwards she found out her partner passed away. So it's pretty rough. That's probably the worst experience somebody. But the positive thing is, if you see a spot today, she's still applying for asylum, she's not yet got to asylum, you will never thought what she's gone through, you know? And she's so grateful that she's able just to live openly here.
Is there a doorbell? Take our shoes off?
No, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
So is this,
Cool.
do you think this is going to be roughly about right?
Yeah.
For both your requirements? Yeah.
You can find it.
Is that all good? So how many times have you actually been arrested then?
Over 100.
Over 100. Wow. Okay. So you're definitely one of the more eager activists, would you say?
I do what I believe is necessary, and sometimes when people won't listen, you have to take direct action.
So you think it's still, a just cause to protest for LGBT rights still, is that?
Well, I think in a democracy, we all have the right to protest on any issue, and I think it's very important that if you feel strongly about an issue, don't just moan and complain, do something.
Yeah.
And I will defend the right of people who I totally disagree with to protest, because the right to protest is a fundamental human right, and it exists for everyone, not just for me and for people who agree with me.
Going back to the LGBT movement, the abbreviation for it seems to be constantly evolving. A lot of new letters and symbols are added to it. Do you think there are still people yet to be defined?
Well, of course, what began as lesbian and gay has now gone to LGBT plus 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 plus.
Yeah.
I mean, where does it end? I've seen versions which have 21 different letters. I think that's just, well, it's well intended, but it makes us look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there are some people who say, well, if you don't mention our letter, our group, you're overlooking us. Well, no, with any issue, when people use the term LGBT+, they do mean to be inclusive of everyone.
If you had to give, one last message to the world about the issues that are currently still around with the LGBT movement, what would it be?
Don't take the gains we have won for granted. Don't assume that they will always be here. Rights given can be removed. Now, I can't foresee when or how that could happen, but who knows what might transpire in 20, 30 or 50 years' time. If we had catastrophic climate breakdown, this would cause economic chaos. It could create a circumstance where the rise of law and order, strong parties of the right could go hand in hand with demonisation and even persecution of minorities like LGBT+ people. That's why I say, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
Peter's right. If we want change, we must keep pushing for it. If we sit back and relax, nothing's going to happen. Recently, information has been released claiming that over 3,000 LGBT asylum seekers were refused entry into this country. These rejectees are exactly what the Peter Tatchell Foundation is meant to deal with, but considering Pliny can only take on about 200 cases a year, frankly, it's too much even for them. But it's not just overseas LGBT-orientated people facing discrimination. According to Stonewall, this country's LGBT-focused hate crime has skyrocketed by 79% since 2013. And 1 in 6 LGBT people can't even visit a cafe, restaurant or bar without facing some form of prejudice. I reckon Tatchell's got a lot more arrests lined up before anyone can be truly free.